Go live is one of the most important milestones in any digital transformation. But how do you know if you're ready and well prepared for your go live? That's what I want to talk about here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world reach their third stage of digital transformation success. And we work with clients all the time that are in the process of implementing new technology as part of their digital transformation, whether that's ERP software, human capital management, CRM, supply chain management, whatever the technology is, we help clients implement all sorts of technologies. And regardless of what type of technology you might be deploying, go live, or a series of go lives, is one of the most important milestones in your project plan. But a lot of times organizations don't fully understand whether or not they're ready and whether or not they've done the necessary preparation. And more importantly, they don't understand what the potential risk is if they get it wrong. And so a lot of times organizations are flying blind. They're going into go live hoping that they have a successful go live. So they sort of hold their breath and hope for the best. But what they should be doing instead is making sure that they have a framework for ensuring that they're ready, and if they're not ready, knowing what it is they need to do to get ready. So what I want to do today is talk about 5 things that you should be doing to make sure you're prepared for your go live. And if you're interested in learning more about digital transformation best practices like what I'm going to talk about here today, I encourage you to download some of the many resources I've included links to below. In particular, we have an ebook on our website called Lessons from 1,000 Different Digital Transformations. And that ebook is a series of best practices and lessons learned from having helped over 1,000 different organizations through their digital transformations. So I encourage you to download that white paper, that report, as part of your research and due diligence as well. To start, it helps to create a GoNoGo checklist. And if you're not familiar with the GoNoGo checklist, it's essentially a series of activities and milestones that you need to make sure you've completed before you go live. Now, the key here is to identify everything that needs to be in that GoNoGo checklist. And in fact, I'm going to share a few of those things with you later in this video. But it's also important to recognize that it's not a simple check or uncheck sort of response. A lot of times what you do is you evaluate different criteria and parameters that you know you need to have in place before you go live. But oftentimes it's not a matter of did I do it or not, it's a matter of how well did I do it. So for example, if you look at something like testing, you may check the box and say, yes, we did our testing, but when you dig into it, you find that we did our testing, but we didn't do it the way we should have, and we didn't do it as thoroughly as we should have. And by the way, I'm going to come back to testing later in this discussion as well. So testing is just one example of something you want to make sure is in your GoNoGo checklist. And there's a whole host of other activities and things you want to include in there as well. But the whole idea with the GoNoGo checklist is, first of all, to make sure we understand what we have and haven't completed and where work needs to be done, but also making sure that we have alignment and transparency into where the risks are. So in other words, we're not trying to sugarcoat things here. We're trying to look at, here are the things we've completed, here are the things we haven't completed. Are we all okay with the risks that we're about to take on if we were to go live on X date? Now, a GoNoGo checklist is typically something you would do 30, maybe 60 days out from your planned go live, but other organizations will start it even earlier, and some organizations will do the GoNoGo checklist multiple times. For example, they might do it one time and find that they're not ready for go live, and so they'll go remediate some stuff. They'll go do the GoNoGo checklist again and find that now we're ready and now we're comfortable with the risk of moving forward. So the GoNoGo checklist is a key foundational aspect of making sure that you're prepared for your go live. One of the most important preparations that you can do for your go live, and something that should be included on your GoNoGo checklist, is the various testing that needs to happen of the solution or solutions that you're deploying. In other words, you want to make sure that the solution you're about to roll out is tested not only from a technical perspective, but also from a functional and business perspective. So for that reason, there's multiple phases and multiple iterations of testing. Typically, your first phase of testing is going to be the more technically focused testing to make sure that the way the software is configured works for an individual transaction or an individual myopic business process within an end-to-end process. Once you've done that technical testing, then there's a sort of integration testing that looks at more end-to-end processes. It looks at not just one transaction or one piece of a workflow, but it looks at an entire end-to-end business process workflow, ensuring that the data and the workflows within the system work from a technical perspective. And then finally, and perhaps most importantly, is a user acceptance testing, or as it's sometimes often referred to, conference room pilots. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we've said the technology works. We've tested it technically. We've done the integration testing. Now we've got to test to make sure it works for the business, make sure that we've thought through the different scenarios, the different exceptions, the different things that we do every day in our operations that we want to make sure that we've tested in the system. And inevitably, when we go through these 3 phases of testing, which by the way, each of these phases of testing oftentimes has multiple iterations of just that phase of testing. But as we go through these 3 phases, we're typically doing so with a series of test scripts. We're documenting the results of the test scripts. We're documenting where the problems are, where the breakdowns or uncertainties are, and we're figuring out how to address and fix those problems. So when it comes to preparing for go live, we want to make sure that we've thoroughly tested the system and really mitigated that risk of having a material operational disruption at the time of go live, which by the way is a key reason why so many transformations fail, is because they didn't fully test the solution. They didn't test it from a business perspective, and they didn't consider all the different scenarios that they need to consider as part of their transformation. The next step in ensuring that you're prepared for your go live is to ensure that you've completed adequate training and user adoption. Now, a lot of times organizations have a checklist of people that they want to train. They have a checklist of courses or modules or support they want to provide to ensure that they're trained, and they simply check the box whether or not the person completed a training course. What we really need to be doing, however, is instead measure user adoption and really look at how well people understand the system, how well they understand the business processes, and how comfortable they are with the system. Now, of course, end users and employees are not going to be 100% comfortable with the technology on day 1 of go live, but you want to know that there's some basic level of comfort and that you've seen enough competency in using the new processes and technologies that you feel comfortable that there won't be a material operational disruption at the time of go live. So instead of checking the box on whether or not someone completed a training, what can be even more effective is to instead measure how many transactions are completed successfully, or how quickly a series of transactions might be completed. And that'll give you some quantitative measures to understand things like 40% of our staff doesn't understand or doesn't pass a simple competency test for this technology, so therefore we probably need to do more remediation training before we go live. And this is something that you want to apply to the entire organization, at least for anyone that's impacted by the technology and process changes that are about to be rolled out. Another important aspect of go live preparation is organizational readiness. In other words, how ready is the organization for the changes that are about to be deployed? Now, we've already talked about some components of organizational readiness. For example, when we talk about training and user adoption, that's a subset of a broader organizational readiness, but there's other components of organizational readiness as well. For example, we want to make sure that people not only know how to use the technology and how to complete transactions within the technology, but we also want to make sure that they understand how the processes work. We want to make sure they understand what their new job roles and responsibilities are. If there's any sort of managerial changes or job description changes that need to happen as a result of this new environment we're migrating to, we want to make sure we've done that. We want to make sure that we've addressed technical aspects of organizational readiness. So we want to make sure that we've defined the architecture and the integration points and built the competency for the IT department to provide support to the organization going forward. We want to make sure that we have support people within the business that can help people during go live and after go live, help them use the system better, and really just make sure that we have that safety net laid out to the organization so that we're ready for the go live. And when there are curveballs or speed bumps along the way, we have a plan to address that, and we have the organization ready for the change. And one good way to measure organizational readiness is to conduct a series of organizational readiness assessments throughout the implementation so you can see how the needle is moving and how you're progressing in getting the organization ready. And this is a two-prong approach we take with our clients. We'll do a quantitative survey as well as qualitative focus groups to really understand how ready people are, where the anxieties and fears are, and what concerns and challenges they anticipate in the post-go-live environment. And that should be an important input into your overall organizational assessment. Go-lives can be very significant events. They are typically the moment of truth. When the rubber meets the road, we flip the switch and we go to work on a Monday morning using the new technology, the new processes, the new data, the new system, the new organizational roles and responsibilities, etc. Now, if we've done our jobs right and we've prepared well, it doesn't need to be disruptive. It doesn't need to be catastrophic or dramatic. It could end up being a sort of a natural, organic transition to a new system. The problem is so many organizations are not ready. They haven't done adequate preparation, and that creates a lot of drama and problems during go live. But no matter how well you plan and prepare for your go live, inevitably there's going to be hiccups and speed bumps along the way. Someone's not going to understand how a transaction gets completed. Someone doesn't have the right security profile set up that they thought they did. Some integration point isn't working. Some data wasn't migrated correctly from the old system. Something typically will happen like that. And so you want to make sure that you have a solid and well-defined support plan. So in other words, if I'm an end user and I'm using the system and I run into one of these problems, who do I go to? Do I have support available to help me? People that are experts in the system, people that were presumably part of the core project team. They're heavily involved in designing the system. They're heavily involved in training people on how to use the system. We want to make sure that we have people to help us during that critical post-go-live support period. Now, this support team usually is a combination of the outside consultants that helped you implement the system, as well as your internal super users and your internal project team members. And it's really important that you use both. You certainly want to lean on outside consultants because presumably they're the experts in the technology that you're deploying, but you really need people that understand the business and the technology. And that's typically your internal people as well. So it's usually a combination of internal and external resources that constitute this support team, but you want to make sure you have that well defined prior to going live with your new technology. So I hope this has provided you some guidance on how to prepare for your go live. Now, for more best practices and lessons from other go lives and other digital transformations, I encourage you to download our Lessons from 1000 Digital Transformations ebook. It's a white paper / ebook that we publish that provides a number of lessons learned and best practices to help you through your transformation. So I encourage you to check that out via the links in the description field below. I've also included links to other resources that are meant to help you through the digital transformation journey as well. And as always, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me as well. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day. And some organizations will do the GoNoGo, GoMojo. But what?
Good.
Another aspect of go live preparation is, so when it comes to no-go, I'm still on that GoNoGo Mojo checklist thing.